In a far-off land known as Ethertopia, there lived a boy named Virgo and a girl named Yakutia. Ethertopia was a mystical and wondrous place, filled with the sounds of the forest and the scents of mythical flowers. It was a land of many tribes and villages, each with their own unique customs and traditions. Within the forest of Ethertopia dwelt many mythical creatures, including the phoenixes, whose majestic feathers illuminated the sky with their radiant beauty. These mystical birds would soar through the air, their wings beating a steady rhythm as they called out in song. Virgo and Yakutia were born under a curse, one that seemed to follow them wherever they went. Virgo was plagued by violent nightmares each night, visions of him being tortured in the depths of hell. Yet each morning the memories of his dreams would fade away like mist in the sunlight, and he would be left with a vague feeling of unease. Yakutia was a short, brunette girl with a playful spirit. She loved chasing butterflies on the cliffs, her laughter echoing through the forest as she leaped and twirled. Virgo, always watching her with a watchful eye, would call out to her in alarm when she got too close to the edge of the cliff, afraid that she would fall. Each evening, the tribespeople of Ethertopia would gather around the fire, gazing up at the stars as they marveled at the mysteries of the universe. Virgo and Yakutia would sit together, their fingers intertwined as they gazed up at the endless expanse of the cosmos. But Virgo could not shake the feeling that something was not right. He felt as though he was living in a dream, a beautiful fantasy that could crumble at any moment. He clung to Yakutia, his protector and his muse, and through her, he found a sense of wonder and beauty that gave him hope. But as the days passed, Virgo began to wonder if Yakutia was even real, or if she was merely a figment of his broken mind. The world around him seemed to fade away, leaving only Yakutia and the universe. And as he looked up at the stars, he realized that it didn't matter if Yakutia was real or not. She was a symbol of the beauty and wonder of the universe, and through her, Virgo had found his salvation. The plight of modern man in reclaiming his virility is deeply rooted in the decay of traditional values that have long been the cornerstone of Western civilization. The erosion of these values has left men feeling adrift, disconnected from their roots and lacking in purpose. However, the rise of neo-traditionalism offers a glimmer of hope in these troubled times. The traditional values of strength, courage, and heroism have been central to the development of Western civilization, and their restoration is critical to the reclamation of masculine virility. The recognition of these values and their importance has led to a growing movement of men who seek to unite and reclaim their rightful place as champions of traditionalism. Through the revival of traditional values, men are seeking to reconnect with their innermost being and unleash the full power of their virility. This is being accomplished through large-scale movements and communities that are focused on restoring the traditions and values that have been lost in the modern age. The restoration of traditional values is not an easy path, but it is a necessary one. By embracing the principles of traditionalism, modern men are finding purpose and direction, and are working together to rebuild a society that values strength, courage, and heroism. Only through this revival of traditional values can modern men hope to reclaim their virility and overcome the troubles that beset them in this age of decay. However, the attempt to reclaim virility has led some men to engage in troubling behavior. In an effort to reconnect with the masculine archetypes that have been lost in modern society, many men have turned to mythological and pop culture figures as a way of identifying with the heroic ideal. This has resulted in the emergence of subcultures that promote extreme views and behaviors as a means of achieving a sense of belonging and power. For example, some men may identify with characters like Achilles or Conan the Barbarian, who embody the traditional masculine ideal of strength, courage, and heroism. However, instead of striving to embody these ideals in a healthy and balanced way, some men may use these characters as a way of justifying aggressive and destructive behavior, believing that it is necessary to be as savage as Conan or as ruthless as Achilles in order to succeed in the world. Similarly, some men may turn to fringe movements that promote violent or extremist views, such as the incel movement or certain factions of the alt-right. These movements often use mythology and pop culture references to justify their beliefs and actions, creating a sense of community and shared identity based on a distorted view of traditional values. The true essence of neo-traditional values lies in the rejection of abstract politics and the embrace of timeless virtues that are rooted in spirituality and introspection. While right-wing ideals have played a role in helping many men reconnect with their virility, true restoration of masculinity can only be achieved through deep self-reflection and a rejection of individualism. In Christian mythology, the concept of original sin teaches us that all of us are born with the capacity for sin, and that none of us are free from its grasp. This notion highlights the importance of humility and the recognition that our individual struggles are part of a larger mechanism. It is only through this understanding that we can hope to overcome the troubles that plague modern men and reclaim our virility. However, the individualistic nature of Western society often leads us to believe that we are solely responsible for our own successes and failures. This belief can be detrimental to the restoration of traditional values, as it promotes a self-centered approach to life that is antithetical to the spiritual and communal values that underpin true masculinity. To truly restore masculinity, men must embrace a holistic approach that recognizes the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of self-reflection and spiritual growth. This requires a rejection of abstract political ideologies and a willingness to delve deep into the depths of our own psyches in order to confront and overcome our individual sins. Ultimately, the restoration of traditional values and the reclamation of masculine virility requires a rejection of the individualistic worldview that has come to dominate modern Western society. By recognizing our place within a greater mechanism and embracing spiritual growth and introspection, we can move past our individual sins and emerge as true champions of traditionalism. Since the dawn of organized civilization, the concept of names has been an integral part of human society. Even in the caveman times of hunter-gatherers, individuals were given names to distinguish them from one another. As civilization evolved, names became an even more important part of our identity, culture, and nation. In the modern day of instant communication, our birth names are often attached to our online personas, social media profiles, and even professional careers. However, despite their importance in modern society, names fail to embody the true nature of who we are as spirits. In fact, names often set very basic expectations for us to follow, and can even influence our behavior and self-perception. For example, studies have shown that individuals with more attractive names, such as Atticus, may set higher expectations for themselves and be more likely to achieve success in life. On the other hand, individuals with less attractive names, such as Norbert, may have lower self-esteem and set lower expectations for themselves. This is due to the psychological influence of names on our self-perception and the way we interact with the world around us. Researchers have found that names can even have an impact on how others perceive us. For example, a study conducted by the University of Texas found that individuals with more traditional and white-sounding names were more likely to be offered job interviews than individuals with more ethnic-sounding names, even when their resumes were identical. In conclusion, while names have played an important role in human society for thousands of years, their significance in modern times can sometimes be overemphasized. As we strive to reclaim our masculinity and embrace traditional values, it is important to recognize that our true identity lies beyond the limitations of our given names. We must learn to look past these superficial expectations and understand that we are all spiritual beings with unique gifts and talents to offer the world. In addition to the psychological influence of names on self-perception and behavior, research has also shown that names can have an impact on how others perceive us in terms of personality traits and even physical appearance. For example, a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that individuals with more feminine-sounding names were perceived as warmer, more sensitive, and more submissive than individuals with more masculine-sounding names. Similarly, another study conducted by the University of California found that individuals with names that began with letters higher up in the alphabet, such as Aaron or Amanda, were more likely to be perceived as successful and have higher social status than individuals with names that began with letters lower down in the alphabet, such as Zachary or Ivan. These findings suggest that names not only influence our own behavior and self-perception, but also how we are perceived by others. This is particularly relevant in a society that places so much emphasis on appearances and social status. Furthermore, the impact of names can extend beyond just individuals and into broader societal issues. For example, a study conducted by the University of Michigan found that individuals with more ethnic-sounding names were more likely to experience discrimination in the workplace than individuals with more traditional and white-sounding names. These findings highlight the importance of recognizing the influence of names on our lives and on society as a whole. While names can be a useful tool for distinguishing individuals from one another, they can also perpetuate biases and stereotypes that limit our potential as individuals and as a society. To truly embrace traditional values and reclaim our masculinity, we must learn to look beyond the superficial expectations and limitations of our given names. We must recognize the true essence of our being as spiritual and unique individuals with the potential to achieve great things, regardless of our names or social status. The concept of virility is closely tied to the idea of masculinity and the traditional values that we have been discussing. However, in modern society, many men struggle with issues such as addiction and lack of motivation, which can make it difficult for them to live up to these traditional values. One such issue that has gained significant attention in recent years is the phenomenon known as NoFap. NoFap is a movement that encourages men to abstain from pornography and masturbation in an effort to reclaim their sexual energy and improve their overall well-being. While the effectiveness of NoFap as a practice is a topic of debate, it is clear that many men are drawn to this movement as a way to reconnect with their masculinity and traditional values. By rejecting the instant gratification and artificial stimulation of pornography and masturbation, these men are seeking to reclaim their natural sexual energy and channel it towards more meaningful and productive pursuits. However, it is important to recognize that the issues surrounding addiction and lack of motivation go beyond just pornography and masturbation. These issues can stem from a variety of factors, including societal pressures and the expectations that we place on ourselves based on our names and other superficial factors. To truly address these issues and reclaim our virility, we must take a holistic approach that includes not only refraining from addictive behaviors, but also practicing self-reflection, spirituality, and introspection. By connecting with our true selves and recognizing our place within the larger spiritual mechanism of the universe, we can begin to break free from the limitations that have been placed upon us by society and embrace our full potential as men. One study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found that men who refrained from ejaculation for a week had higher levels of testosterone compared to those who ejaculated regularly. Another study published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior found that men who abstained from ejaculation for 3 weeks reported increased sexual desire and more intense orgasms. Furthermore, there are anecdotal reports from men who have practiced semen retention that suggest it can lead to increased energy levels, improved focus and concentration, and greater overall sense of well-being. However, it is important to note that semen retention is not a panacea for all of life's problems, and it should not be pursued at the expense of one's physical or mental health. The concept of semen retention ties into the larger esoteric concepts that we have been discussing. By rejecting the instant gratification and superficiality of modern society, and instead embracing traditional values and spirituality, men can tap into their true potential and achieve a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment in life. The Western world has placed great emphasis on individualism, consumerism, and instant gratification, which has led to a society that is disconnected from its spiritual roots and focused on material gain. By breaking away from these standards and embracing a more traditional way of life, men can reconnect with their true selves and achieve a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment. While there is some evidence to suggest that semen retention may have potential benefits for men, The true path to greater masculinity and virility lies in a holistic approach that includes traditional values, spirituality, and a rejection of superficiality and instant gratification. By embracing these concepts and rejecting the standards set for us by Western society, men can achieve a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment in life. The quest for virility and masculine empowerment is a journey that has been embarked upon by men for countless ages. In the pursuit of this elusive goal, many have turned to esoteric and hermetic knowledge to unlock the secrets of the universe and tap into the true potential of the masculine spirit. From the ancient wisdom of the sages to the modern resurgence of neo-traditionalism, men have sought to reject the superficiality of modern society and embrace a more authentic and holistic way of life. By shunning the abstract politics and materialism of the Western world, men can reconnect with their spiritual roots and achieve a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment. One aspect of this journey towards greater masculinity and virility is the concept of semen retention, which has been explored in both scientific and anecdotal studies. While the benefits of semen retention may be debated, the underlying principles of rejecting instant gratification and embracing discipline and self-control are in line with the broader esoteric and hermetic principles that underpin this quest for masculine empowerment. At the core of these principles lies a rejection of the individualistic and consumerist values that have permeated Western society. Through a greater understanding of ourselves as part of a larger cosmic mechanism and a rejection of the limitations and expectations imposed by society, men can achieve a greater sense of purpose and empowerment. In this quest for greater masculinity and virility, the concept of names and their influence on our sense of self is also worthy of consideration. From caveman times to the modern day, names have played a significant role in shaping our identities and expectations. By rejecting these societal expectations and embracing a more spiritual and authentic understanding of ourselves, men can achieve a greater sense of purpose and empowerment. Ultimately, the journey towards greater masculinity and virility is a multifaceted and complex one that requires a holistic approach. By embracing esoteric and hermetic principles, rejecting the superficiality of modern society, and tapping into our spiritual roots, men can unlock the true potential of the masculine spirit and achieve a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment in life.